Hey, this is Joseph Walker. Is this Joe Hyde?
It is.
I was given your number by a friend. Evidently, you want your side of the story told about Donny Leek.
Want my side of the story told?
Yeah.
Okay.
What is it you want to say?
Who is it? How do you? Okay. So there's a is this Susan Dantzler? Are you familiar with her?
Yes, we're friends.
Your friends? Okay. So that's what this is about. So Donnie Leak's not a martyr like she's putting it out there. Um, I mean, he was. I mean, I just got the more information from the DPS after prodding them, and that's what they're saying. And I'll post it on a new story we're about to put out. But this is information that I had that I couldn't put out because no one would say it, right? But his armed subject who had barricaded himself inside his residence. The subject involved had an altercation and was wanted for aggravated assault with a deadly weapon after firing multiple rounds from an assault rifle at his parents. Donnie Leak's parents were able to seek cover in a nearby field near the residence, where they were later met with by the Schleicher County Sheriff's Department. Once the arrest warrant was obtained, law enforcement officers attempted negotiations with Donnie Leak. These negotiations lasted throughout the night. This started at probably about, I don't know, 8 o'clock the night prior. After 16 hours of failed negotiations, Donnie Leak fired at law enforcement officers when they attempted to serve him with an outstanding warrant. Officers returned fire and the subject was killed.
Officers returned fire when?
After he shot at them.
What time was this?
Oh, probably at the end of his Facebook Live thing was about 10:30 or so. I don't know the exact time.
So
But
he fired shots from a gun at his parents Wednesday night, but law
yes,
enforcement didn't intercede until Thursday morning or Thursday.
you got to realize we're out here in the middle of nowhere. Okay, so Schleicher County has like a sheriff's department or sheriff's office with like 2 patrol cars to cover the entire area, so they don't have a whole lot of resources. So what happened was Schleicher County Sheriff went over there after they got the 911 call from Donnie Leak's parents. And please understand the other stuff he did. He shot at them. He also shot the parents' tires out of the car so they couldn't leave. He did a lot of stuff there, and the parents were afraid of their lives, So they ran to the field, got away from him, and they called the Schleicher County Sheriff. They came out there and they rescued the parents. And then Donnie Leak lives on a property that is behind another piece of property, so you can't get there
Yeah.
unless you go through someone else's property. So
When did he shoot out his parents' tires?
the night prior,
Okay. And there was a 911 call placed
yes,
by who?
his parents.
And so is anybody doing the Freedom of Information Act on the phone call?
I haven't done it, but let's see. I wonder if they even have recording capability in Schleicher County. But I can go talk to the sheriff.
They don't record their 911 calls?
I have no idea. But you call down there and ask him, the Schleicher County Sheriff. He also, and you see this I think you see this on the video that he's doing. He shoots at the drone. The DPS deployed a drone, so he's shooting at the drone.
So the drone was owned by the DPS?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the unofficial story about what happened was the DPS was approaching him, going down that road. I don't know if you've watched this video. You see there's a street sign there.
Yeah.
And they were coming down that street in an armored vehicle, and he shot at the armored vehicle. So when he drops the phone, if you run that video real slow, you'll see him standing pointing the gun.
What kind of armored vehicle was it?
Probably an MRAP. A lot of the law enforcement in Texas have old MRAPs from the Gulf War.
So the police agency, they don't record their 911 calls, but they have an MRAP.
Yep, because the military gave away a lot of MRAPs about 5 or 6 years ago.
Okay.
I
Has
don't know.
anybody
I
done
don't
a
know if it's MRAP or what. It was an armored vehicle.
Has
Okay,
anybody
that's
done a
what.
Freedom of Information Act on the drone footage?
No, they're not going to give it to you
Have you seen a actual? Why wouldn't they give it to you?
because they're going to say it's an active investigation.
Did anybody actually get a copy of the police investigation from the Wednesday night incident?
No one's gotten anything from anyone other than what the DPS is releasing, and I don't think they're going to release that because they'll forward you to the DPS.
Why is the
And then,
DPS taking charge over something that should have been handled with the local police?
because the local police ceded control to the DPS.
Not to the sheriff?
The sheriff ceded control to the DPS. There's only a sheriff and the DPS involved.
Okay. So the DPS didn't own an armored vehicle though. That was the sheriff's department?
No, it was probably a DPS armored vehicle.
Okay. Did you actually see the armored vehicle? Were you there?
No, we couldn't get in. I mean, we sent a reporter there, and like I said, it's way back there behind another piece of private property.
When did you actually send the reporter there? Wednesday night or Thursday morning?
Thursday morning.
Okay. Was Mr. Leek actually aware that there were police outside his property Wednesday night?
I'm sure he was.
Okay. Does anybody have any pictures of his?
Let me just say this. You talked to the guy from the Mason News. Menard News. His name's Iacobi, I think. He actually went out there Friday night. But I mean, it was like it was just Donny Leek. I mean, Donny Leek is a well-known figure out there to do stuff like this.
Yeah.
And so he said, well, I guess I'll have to go out there in a little bit. That's the kind of thing. That's how we kind of took it at the very beginning. And also, it's all been erased. But Donny Leek was going crazy on Facebook.
What was erased?
I think Donnie erased a lot of it, but I'm sure that the police went in there, DPS went in there, got it all taken down.
Question on that. Donny Leek deleted his own video after he was shot?
No. I'm talking about he was going crazy on social media the night prior.
Yeah.
So like there's a Mason County News. I'm sorry, not Mason. I get Mason and Menard mixed up.
Right.
There's a Menard News. He was on there listening. They actually had to kick him off. I believe there's like a Facebook group for residents of Menard. I realized that where he lived was kind of closer to Menard than it was to El Dorado.
Okay.
So Menard was kind of like that's where he grocery shopped.
Do you know how many times he was shot?
He was shot once, right above the chest, right in the neck area.
And was this by a rifle, pistol, shotgun?
I assume it was a sharpshooter.
No
one's told me officially, but I assume it was a sharpshooter.
It was a sniper that killed my friend.
It was a sniper.
From the DPS or the sheriff's department?
DPS.
Okay. What is your official title?
I'm the owner, publisher of it.
Owner, publisher of?
San Angelo Live.
Okay.
But the point is, he's not necessarily a martyr. Okay, there's a lot of layers here. I think that Donald probably they always like to throw mental health and mental illness in there, but I think there's probably an element of that.
Okay. On a personal note, between man to man, do you think if somebody was mentally deranged or deficient in some way, that a sniper was the best way of handling that situation?
Well, I've been covering the news for many years, and I'm not like a normal news guy. I see things. I have a 20-year military background too. The risk that law enforcement has is that if they back down or if they look weak, then that emboldens the crooks.
Okay,
so
but
there's an element of that.
If they had an armored personnel carrier, why did he need to be assassinated by a sniper?
He shot at police, and that gave him a reason to shoot back.
He shot at an armored personnel carrier. Did the bullet pierce the side?
He shot several shots at an armored personnel carrier.
Did any of the bullets pierce the armored personnel carrier?
From what I was told, 2 bullets hit the armored carrier.
But
I don't know. It was an armored vehicle. That's what I was told.
Were any officers involved injured?
No.
Okay. So no officers were actually injured, but it was still the need for a sniper from the DPS to kill him.
Well, when you deploy the SWAT guys, that's what happens. You get the snipers, you get all that stuff in there. So, and then they obviously have protocols and workflows they work through.
But your opinion is they had to kill him in order for the police not to look weak.
Well, I'm just that's my opinion that they're not going to let it. Once they moved in, they weren't going to allow him to win.
Have you personally interviewed his parents?
No.
Do you know anybody that's had any contact with his parents to tell that side of the story?
No.
So we don't know if anything who told you that he shot at the parents, their car?
Well, the first thing that happened was I had a whole bunch of people from Menard who were, they're this pretty close knit group down there, contacted me saying Donnie's gone crazy and shot at Roy. That's his dad, and now he's barricaded himself up in his house, and the cops are on the way.
Who told you that?
We have just people from Menard. I don't know their names.
Non-military people.
They're just civilians.
Not non-law enforcement.
Yeah.
So that's rumors.
Yeah.
But rumors that you're posting as truth.
We didn't use any of this information. I'm giving you information that you're asking me for anecdotal information. But
I don't really understand anecdotal, but is there anything that you can actually verify that law enforcement has told you?
Yeah, they verified that he shot at the parents, and the parents ran into a pasture nearby for safety. The Schleicher County sheriff came out and rescued him, and then that's when the siege began.
But as a journalist, you don't find it interesting that you can't speak to the parents?
Well, at this point in the story, we're just trying to get the freaking DPS to tell us more than, hey, this guy died in a standoff, which we did.
Who told you that he shot at the police?
Well, let me see. First of all, no one there saw it except the police. Okay.
But who told you the story that he shot at police?
The DPS.
And who at the DPS actually told you this?
The spokesman for the San Angelo sector.
Okay.
All right, let me back up a second. The DPS initially said we shot a guy who had barricaded himself in a house, and and the situation is ended with the subject was killed. That was the initial DPS release. All day today, I've been arguing with DPS people to send us more information because of all the side stories we're getting from civilians who knew more about the situation. And the question was, it's not like it's being portrayed that DPS is just cruising around Schleicher County looking for a Second Amendment rights guy to go massacre. That's not the truth.
But the biggest question is, if he was Facebook Live, why wasn't any of this recorded of the incident?
Well, it was Donny Leek who was Facebook Living it. It wasn't anyone there.
Yes, but who ended the Facebook Live if he was in an armed shootout with the police?
Well, if you watch the end of the Facebook Live, Donny Leek sees him coming. And he drops his phone, and it's pointed up in the air. And right before you see the phone point up there, you can see Donny Leek pointing the sky.
Yes, but if the phone is pointing at the sky and it's not in his hands, how did we not get the end of the solution? Shouldn't a cop have walked up and ended the feed?
Well, a cop walked up and cut his internet.
Then a cop walked up and cut the internet to the house?
Yep.
And I
realized he's on wireless internet, fixed wireless, so they cut the power to his house, and they cut whatever. He needs power for the internet to work.
So a law enforcement officer was outside the MRAB cutting the power/internet to his house, but they weren't inside the armored personnel carrier?
Well, I don't know where they cut this freaking power. I mean, you can cut the power from a lot of places. You cut that whole block off, I guess, our whole area off.
Do you think that's a good what do they call it? Strategy on actually killing the truth from getting out?
It's not my call to do. That's DPS's call.
Okay, but we as the friends of Donny and the Second Amendment rights activists and the First Amendment right activists are just scratching our heads. But so far, the only thing that you've actually said is this whole thing is based on rumors, and that
No, it's not based on rumors. It's based on law enforcement telling us that here's what happened. That's what I got. And now, whether or not you trust the law enforcement, going to go further and ask more questions than what they release. I mean, that's we don't have we're like hours after the incident. I mean, I don't have time to go look into all this stuff. But
just out of curiosity, I have two questions to ask you. One, if you're the owner publisher of this magazine or what do you call it, news agency, and you're having a hard time getting information out of it, what do you think that the civilians would have?
Well, the civilians rely on the news media to do stuff like this.
Yeah. And if the police aren't giving you the information, how are we supposed to find out the truth?
Let me just let you know a little bit about this. I mean, at the same time the Donny Leek thing's going on, okay, we have the San Angelo Police Department up in the poor part of San Angelo, the Hispanic barrio, surrounding the house with a SWAT team and an MRAP because two little thugs went into a convenience store and stole 30 pack of Coors Light and went up in this house and held out.
Okay, I don't really care about that. I'm on that. I'm on the situation with Donny Leek.
This makes total sense. So at the end, so we got video. We got we had people there. We got our reporter got pushed back. We watched tear gas get deployed. We basically reported tear gas deployed. The police department, in all their zeal, comes out and says, we did not use any chemical munitions. So this is how the freaking police departments, act around here.
So they lied whenever you caught them on video, but they're not lying, huh?
Yeah.
But they're not lying in the Donny Leek case where we have no video but the DPS drone.
Yeah, DPS. Well, you might have that. You probably have body camera too. Body camera for all the cops there. But the DPS is a little bit different animal.
Okay, but the reason why I called is y'all are saying we're not getting the full truth, but so far you haven't told me.
You're not getting the full truth.
But you haven't told me anything I don't already know.
Well, you're out there saying that they were just. I think that the perception that's being spread in the Second Amendment rights Facebook groups is that Donny Leek was some kind of hero and martyr for the Second Amendment, and that's not true. I mean, the guy shot at his parents. I believe when the department and the DPS tell me that, I believe that's true. I think there's enough anecdotal evidence around from other people who've talked to me about it to confirm that that's probably likely. He was charged by the DPS with aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. So those facts need to be out there.
Was he aware of these charges before the standoff Saturday or Wednesday morning? Or Thursday morning?
Well, there's not really a record repository that you can go pull Donny Leek's record until they arrest him.
Did any law enforcement officer ever contact Donny other than before the armored personnel carrier came up?
Well, it's in the press release. The DPS says they attempted for 16 hours to get contact with him. If you watch the entire Facebook Live video, as the comments are going on the right-hand side, his daughter's trying to get him to talk to him. You hear him talking and say, don't use my daughter's Facebook account to try to talk to me, Ranger, whatever, Eubank, or whatever the guy's name was.
Did they ever use his personal Facebook or Messenger to get a hold of him?
Well, I'm sure that they made many attempts to get a hold of him to talk to him.
Was that question asked?
Well, it's stated in their press release that they attempted to make contact with him.
Okay.
I mean, I don't think the DPS is going to just say, well, we called his old landline and he didn't answer, so therefore we're going to go shoot him.
So the thing I have is you're calling people or giving people your name and phone number to get out because we're not telling the truth or we're trying to tell that there's a story here, but I don't know if you're.
I think you're telling. I think some story, making this guy out to be a martyr. I don't think that's the full story.
Okay,
He's
but
not a martyr.
So far you haven't told us anything that we don't already know.
Well, you're not talking about the reason why the cops were there.
Okay, but are you wanting to suppress us from speaking out, or are you wanting to get your side of the story?
How am I suppressing you? I'm just suggesting I know some more information. I'm gonna let you know you can do what you want to do with it. It's a free country.
Thank you for that. I'll use this information. But is there any information you actually want to give me that you haven't said yet?
Well, I just think you need to, and I think that when the narrative's told, there ought to be some discussion about why the DPS even went there, was dispatched there to begin with.
Did you know Donny personally?
Yep.
And y'all's relationship was what exactly?
Oh, he was just he was one of those old grumpy guys on Facebook all the time. We knew him. He spent a lot. I mean, hell, he calls me out in the middle of this video. You can see it.
Did you have any positive interactions with him?
I really didn't have anything against him. I mean, I understood that Donny had very strong beliefs about the Second Amendment and things like that, and I respected that. He didn't particularly care for me because I supported our state rep, who's a Republican. And, some people, like, in the Empower Texas world, consider our state rep to be a rhino. But, I think he's a good rhino if he's going to be a rhino. And
so if you're going to be a rhino, be a good rhino.
Yeah, he's a good rhino. So, there's a certain split in the conservative movement in Texas between the guys that are, I guess you can say like your Dan Patricks, your flamethrowers, and then you have your quiet guys who just try to get stuff done and get the budget balanced.
But your main interaction with Donny up until this point was that he didn't support a good rhino?
Yeah, exactly. He didn't support Drew Darby. He didn't support Drew Darby.
Okay, so what exactly are you wanting to get out on your side of the story?
Well, I don't really need to get anything out. I just thought that I saw that she was posting some stuff, and I said, well, I'll offer my input. That's all.
If you didn't want to get anything out to somebody, why did you make contact?
I don't need to get out anything through her. I can, have a pretty huge audience myself.
Yeah. But what was your intent on calling this lady in question?
I didn't call her. I sent her a Facebook message.
Yes. What was your intent?
Is that threatening? Is that threatening to send
no,
someone a Facebook
I didn't say
message?
it was threatening.
Are you accusing me of being threatening?
No.
What are you trying to do?
Are you threatening me?
What's your purpose here?
The question is, why did you? What purpose did you want to get out?
Why are you being so hostile?
Why am I? Because a dear friend of mine's been killed by a sniper while he had an MRAB.
So how was he a dear friend? Did you ever meet Donny Leek?
Do you know who I am?
I have no idea who you are.
Okay, my name is Joseph Walker. I'm a Second Amendment, First Amendment supporter. So we've been to the Capitol several times. I've eaten meals with the man. I've talked to him on a daily basis for the past 3 years.
Okay.
So I have a vested interest in this, but the main reason I called you is I'm very curious on why you contacted the lady in question and what message you wanted to get out.
I think I put it in the message I gave her. It was a Facebook message.
Yes. I'm aware of it. That's how I got your phone number. But the question is, what do you want to say to the people?
I think that the more the story needs to come out.
And how do we do that if the DPS isn't giving you the truth?
Well, I got the DPS to give me the truth. The press release came out about 20 minutes ago.
Okay. And you're going to post this on Facebook?
Well, no, I'm going to put it on San Angelo Live.
Okay. Okay, well, then we'll get that. Is there anything that's not in the press release or anything that you want to tell me right now?
No, just what was in the press release. We worked hard to try to get the DPS to open up more. The problem is not that they did something wrong necessarily. The problem is if all law enforcement, public affairs apparatus does not tell the entire truth. They'll tell the truth, but not the whole truth.
But they had to kill him so that they didn't look bad.
Well, in my opinion, that amount of like we are engaged in a situation. It's hot, and we need to do something now. While this is happening, and we knew about this Wednesday night or Wednesday during the San Angelo SWAT thing going on. We held back on not reporting anything because we wanted to give them a chance to, I guess, surrender to police or whatever, negotiate.
So what was the main interest on not saying there was a standoff Wednesday night?
Because we didn't want to give him, right? It's just kind of like reporting suicides. You don't want to report a suicide necessarily because it might encourage other people who are similarly, inclined to commit suicide themselves because they want to make a big deal out of it. They want to have a lot of hoopla.
Well, I mean, the argument can be made you didn't want to tell the truth because you didn't want people showing up.
No, it's not a matter of telling the truth. It's a matter of A, not having a whole lot of information that's verified, and B, we knew that Donny Leek was on all the social media pages there locally, blowing it up.
How many standoffs do y'all have in a week?
Well, this one we had 2 this week. We usually have 1 or 2 a month.
1 or 2 a month, and when those 1 or 2 a month start, that's not top of the line news.
Most of the time, it is.
But why was this time different?
Well, because it's not sitting out there in the middle of the open. One of the things with breaking news is one of the value is if someone sees 7 cop cars down at the end of the street, you want to know why they're down there, right? Well, this thing's out in the middle of the freaking country. There ain't nobody down there.
So without media and civilians watching, there's only one side of the story that can be told.
There's probably only one side of the story is going to be told in most standoffs because there's not a member of the media rushing into a house when they're busting it down and shooting it up.
But that's rather convenient to the ones that you're saying aren't giving out any information and want to kill him to make him look.
The 2 aren't connected. All right, they're not giving out information not because they're afraid of backlash from the citizens. They're not giving out information because they're bureaucrats and they're being overly controlling, and they're being too cautious about how much information they release.
So bureaucrats being over controlling and not giving out information and killing people so that they don't look bad.
I didn't say that. I said they're being very careful and cautious because they're bureaucrats and they work for the government and they're being risk averse.
I think we're just going around in circles. Is there anything else you would like to add to the story?
Oh, you gonna put this up somewhere? Did you record it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you put it up and you go after me, I'll come after you. So you just keep that in mind.
Is that a threat? And that's it. If I put it up, he'll come after me. I'm putting it up.